Hey everybody, Adam Rennert, president of InflowCX. I'm here with Ashish Nagar, who's the founder and CEO of Level AI. I'm excited to have Ashish here today. Ashish and I met, I would say, Ashish, 4 years ago, and almost 4 years ago, and he's starting to tell me, he says, hey Adam, here's what I'm doing at this company. He's talking about how he's leveraging AI and doing all these great things, and you think about where we are today, where AI is now literally every conversation, probably from executives down into their organizations, are saying, how are we going to leverage AI into our organization? And then with GPT coming along and saying, it's really brought that to the forefront even further. And I think there's some things that we could talk about today that help customers think about, there's AI, there's ChatGPT, there's large language models, and there's a lot of confusion out there about where everything fits and where it can really be applied in there. So let me just ask you really quick, when we were talking about AI 4 years ago, you fast forward till today, how have things changed in terms of what AI can do within the contact center and the impact it's having in the contact center specifically?
Absolutely. So this is, thanks again, Adam, for having us, and welcome to the audience. So I'll give you, 30 seconds of background story to sort of answer this. So before I started Level AI, I was a product leader in Amazon's Alexa team. And this was exactly 5 years ago. And for those of you who have used Siri or Alexa or Google Assistant, which I'm sure is a large part of this population of the crowd, we've used one of these, right? So back when I was at Alexa, not too long ago, 5 years ago, if you were to ask Alexa or Siri, hey, what's the weather in San Francisco where I live, or play a song by a certain music artist, we had to go in and program essentially many ways in which somebody could ask this question to Alexa, right? And that was just 5 years ago at Amazon's scale. And there was a different model for asking questions. There's a different model for figuring out what somebody was talking about and so on. What has changed in the last 2.5, 3 years? Now we have this incredible new capability of, we call them foundational models or large language models, which power generative AI applications, right? And think of it as a Swiss Army knife, right, which has everything built into one, versus we used to have a screwdriver before and a hammer before and so on and so forth, and every tool for each. And so it turns out the Swiss Army knife is better than the screwdriver or the hammer individually, which we used to have, right? So that is a fundamental change in AI in this space. Now, within the contact center, what we offer is quality automation, agent assist, deep conversation intelligence, some level of agent GPT capabilities where people can question answer. So these are multiple use cases within the contact center. What I would say is each one of those use cases is being fundamentally changed based on this new technology. And then organizations and vendors who adopt to this new reality would be the ones who sort of are leading into the future. And that's what we are working on.
Yeah, I kind of correlated. I kind of make a joke sometimes with some of my clients that are thinking about this, and they maybe are a little bit skeptical about AI and can it really impact my business. And I kind of make a joke around, it's not my grandfather's AI, because if you go back 10 years ago, people were talking about automation and all this intelligence within that's going to make the world just automated and everything. And as you said, that was still, it took humans to tell the system exactly what to do. You fast forward today, the technology is smart enough to take away the need for the human to tell you what to do. It can tell itself what to do to an extent, right? So so that's kind of, it really has changed in just a short period of time. And obviously the ChatGPT, I'll call it the hype cycle, right, where it's like, wow, this ChatGPT is one piece of it. It's really the generative AI and the large language models that have really changed the game underneath the hood there. But so what you see in the press a lot is around how, this generative AI is going to change web browsing, and you're going to implement this in your web browser. It's going to be able to tell you everything you need to know, and it's going to be able to do all these kind of things. But when you start to get down to more complex
Use cases.
Or very specific to your organization. So I'm an organization and I want to see how can this generative AI learn my pieces. I mean, what's critical to making that work, and what's kind of working now? Like what could be now?
Great question. So what is working now? So I think ChatGPT has done all of us a huge favor, and a little bit of a disservice as well. The huge favor is that it caught public attention, and it caught the attention right from the board or CEO to everybody's attention. Is like, hey, this is a seminal moment. But the disservice is, it feels like a silver bullet. It can do everything. It cannot, And you and I have talked about this a lot, Adam. So the things which are working right now within the contact center, because that's what all of us are interested in, auto QA, we are able to, using these foundational models, have a completely new paradigm of how quality assurance is done within the contact center. And that is where I was talking about, like, if you have to change the underlying engine of how QA is done, and the way it was done even 2 years ago from using some of these sort of older tools, that is completely changing. Same with conversation analytics. And you would say, like, hey, how is conversation analytics linked to ChatGPT? It's the foundational models, and we'll talk about that in the same way. The underlying engine changes, right? The underlying brain changes. And so you are able to look deeper and farther into the data. The same thing holds for QA. So what we see as, so auto QA capabilities, conversation intelligence capabilities, agent assist, we are reimagining how agent assist would be, because now one of the biggest problems with agent assist is the system picking up what the customer is saying, and often it misfires. If you can figure it, if you can understand better, if you can hear better, right, then you can have a much more robust agent assist system. And then finally, I would say on the automation side, one of the things which we launched is Agent GPT, which is the ability for every agent to have an expert AI by their side. I think the bots will fundamentally change as well. Bots used to be pretty dumb, and they will become much better. So all of these touch points will be powered in a new way. One last thing I would ask your audiences to think about, right? We talk about a lot of this with our customers. The AI under the hood matters. We were all at CCW, or some of us were at CCW a few weeks ago. Everyone has the same marketing lines, but the AI under the hood matters. Think about, when was the last time you used Yahoo search engine, right? They also have an AI-powered search engine, but the result quality is 10x worse than Google search engine. Or the last time you used, self-driving car technology from Ford versus, there's a lot of detail of AI under the hood, which makes these experiences really
No,
sharp.
I think it's true. But when all of a sudden OpenAI, you see in the press around, Microsoft or whomever is using ChatGPT, all of a sudden every technology vendor in the marketplace had on their website, we support ChatGPT. And as you said, not all is equal, right? It's about, are they just opening an API and grabbing information? Do they have their own language models, they're building together to leverage those to be even more intelligent? But going back to one thing you said around where AI and is being applied in that quality and conversational analytics, I thought you made a good point that a lot of customers we talk to, when we talk about quality and analytics, they're like, well, what's it going to tell me that I don't already know?
Yeah,
because I've used tools in the past that, it's kind of like, I put these in there and I look at the data and I said, I already knew that, right? I already knew what my customers. It's because what you said, it's looking at like layer one data. Yeah. Layer one data is a lot of things that humans know that are in tune to their business. It's getting into the layer 2 and layer 3 data that can really find little pieces of opportunity to improve either their agent or the customer experience, or focus on how do I use that data to market better to my customers. I think that's really, really interesting. So let's like pivot a little bit to agent assist, because I have been hearing a lot, and I spent a lot of time researching and meeting with all kinds of people around where is this new level of automation and AI really going to apply, and agent assist technology is one of those areas. The promise, I remember when agent assist to me is, you had call scripting. Someone called into the call center and you said, hi, my name is Adam. And then you got to the next level, which is it's a yes or no. Sometimes you could program a decision tree. It says if they say yes, then say this. They say no, then say this. And then it was like, wow, that's really, but it really didn't do much. Now Agent Assist with this newer technology can, from what we're seeing, can really drive better outcomes. And I know you guys have an Agent Assist technology and you probably have your thoughts on it. So just tell us how is it different now and what's really the benefits that we're seeing at it from the agent productivity?
Yeah, so for Agent Assist, there are 2 or 3 things which make it, like Agent Assist products really shine. One is very simply, do you understand what is being said? Does the Agent Assist tool understand what the customer is saying? We have, so with these newer technologies, we are able to understand long sentences which a customer is saying very accurately, right? And what that means is now we are able to query the customer's knowledge base or show the right next best action cards, which are much higher fidelity, much higher quality compared to what we were able to do before. That's one of the biggest factors for Agent Assist programs not working, because when agents see, it pops up something that's not really useful, right? So if you're able to understand better, then you're able to show better quality data, right? And that's number one. The second is, what data do you show? Now, as you would have seen with these large language models of ChatGPT-like technologies, you have an ability to synthesize large documents into very short summaries and get to the exact so what of a document. So that's also something which is changing. And the third thing which we are seeing is auto coaching and being able to sort of very quickly understand the whole conversation. And as the conversation is ending, hey, here are the 3 things, Ashish, you got to focus on next time, and that put together, so real-time coaching that leads to better agent motivation, more engagement, lower churn. You are coaching on 100% of calls, and you're also showing them much more relevant content while they are in the conversation, and you don't have to program this anymore. To your point, you don't have to be this mechanistically programmed bot that after this do that. We have heard horror stories of Agent Assist programs where if the agent doesn't say the exact same sentence, they don't get credit in their tool for like following instructions or not. And I would sort of I would push all our, we talk to all customers and partners to say like, hey, how flexible is your tool? How flexible it is to what is being said by the agent? How configurable is it? And so on. So those are some telltale signs if they're using the latest technology or they're using some rule-based engine in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think measuring it's really important, because you're really, when you're putting these agent assist technologies in place, you're trying to drive agent productivity, agent satisfaction, right? Because you want agents, it's a tough job, right? And if you give them a good tool that makes them have good quality outcomes, they're happy. And the third one is the customer side, right? And I think what I do like about your platform, I'm not here to pitch your platform, but I do like about your platform is that you have this agent assist technology plus the quality and analytics that kind of is a flat architecture, and they can tie into each other, and really give that kind of 360-degree feedback on what's going on. So sorry, let's try to think where we can go on. Let's talk about how these large language models like really impact the agent's day-to-day interactions, right? So you're sitting there, and you mentioned around customization and flexibility. We talked about the past where it's very rigid. It's like you to tell it to do this and comes back with this, and you tell the system to do this and it comes back to this. But are these systems very customizable for each organization? And how do you make it more efficient? Is it, let me I'll digress for a second. ChatGPT, when it came to the market, 100 million people signed up for it really quick, and people are saying, tell me how to summarize this book, or tell me how to talk to my girlfriend smarter, right, and nicer. But it's looking at all this data across the world, and it's not looking at, in a contact center, if it's looking at all that data, it can give you the wrong context, right? Because it's looking at data across things that are not part of your ecosystem, right? So, the customization ability of these tools to look at your data and to give you the information that's very specific, so it's more accurate. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, because that's what we're hearing a lot of, is that people, there's fear that the data is looking at trillions of pieces of data that have nothing to do with the contact center.
100%. This is really important, Adam. There are 2 or 3 parts of this, which I think our audience should, like, it's very simple to pick this also. Like when we see a lot of marketing, hey, generative AI for the contact center, the first 2 questions I would, as a customer or as a channel partner, I would ask any vendor. It's like, hey, can I feed my data into this to make the model better, right? Which is the question. And the second is, can I customize the output itself? What do I mean by that? Let's unpack both of them. The first one, can I feed my data? Which is very obvious, right? Like imagine, let's say we are Walmart's contact center group, right? OpenAI doesn't know anything about Walmart's data, their contact center practices, their support articles, and so on. So can I feed that? 99.9% of the time, when people say generative AI for CX, they fail that test because they don't own the AI themselves. They're calling somebody else's API, right? Which they can't change, right? So that's a very simple test. You don't need to be an AI guru to be able to ask that question and get that answer. Can I feed this my data? Can it become better? Number one. The second is, can the output change? What do I mean by that? So summarization is a very simple example. Call notes, right? Automatic call note taking, right? Level AI did that 4 years ago. We had our own summarization model. We had been pushing that. But now what we do is, some of our customers want summaries, call notes in a certain format, which is, hey, tell me first line, what is the concern they were calling about? Second line, what is the resolution? And third line, what was the overall sentiment? And we are able to customize the output because we own the underlying AI, right? If you ask OpenAI, it's like, hey, I send you a conversation transcript and can I customize the output? They'll be like, are you kidding me? No, this is the summary you get. And that's an API response. So those 2 customizations, can you do it for my data? Can you change the output? That's a very clear test if a vendor or if a technology provider owns your technology. And the reason it is important, in addition, the third factor here is security and privacy. Now, if you do not own the underlying data and underlying models, right, they're somebody else's, they're sending your data away to a third-party vendor, and then it's wild, wild west, right? So that's why this customization question is so important, Yeah. And you want to secure every customer we work with. We do SOC 2 type 1, type 2, PCI, pen test, GDPR, all of the above. That's the nature of customer service data, right? So in the generative AI world, we have to hold all of that, right? So customization for my data, for my output, and security. Those 3 things are the sort of clear tests in my view.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty fascinating because it's easy to get caught in a trap where you just see all of a sudden you go to someone's website and we have ChatGPT, we leverage generative AI, we do these things, but you really have to dig under the hood and say, how is this secure? Did it break some of the compliance that maybe was there? And you need to really dive into that. But I think the key thing for me is what you said, is you tell ChatGPT or whatever model out there that's looking at the trillion pieces of consumer data, it's going to give you the same answer, it's going to give you the same summary kind of every time. And how do you make sure that within your contact center, you're getting the right summary, and can it learn from itself on your data? And data is a big, I don't say problem, but it's a challenge for customers, right? And so it's also important that the company can access the data and properly and securely, right? Your own data.
Exactly.
But AI in general, I remember a few years ago, if you even go back before COVID, because a lot of the conferences out there like CCW and so forth, and you would go there and there's vendors in all the booths and there's hundreds of vendors, and there would be like 10 vendors in there that say they're AI vendors. Then you go to this year, and you go in there, and there were 172 vendors that say they're AI vendors. And so there's a lot of confusion about AI, because AI is more than ChatGPT, it's more than generative AI, it's more than large language models, it's more than agent assist. There's these different areas, right? There's I call it front door AI, which is, hey, you have a conversational AI type thing where it's self-service. You have digital self-service. Then you have kind of an agent assist technologies because it's coming in the agent. Then you have backdoor like analytics and qualities. You have all these different. There's so much happening in called the AI space, right?
Right.
And there are a lot of platforms coming out. Our job as a company, we're constantly talking to our customers about the journey that they need to go on, right? Everybody's at a different point in their evolution in their contact center. Some people are just not ready to fully deploy even some of the basic AI technologies in there. They have some housekeeping they have to get done first. But let's talk about how you recommend people start thinking about how they can leverage AI in their contact center, and where they should start, because I think a lot of customers are afraid. They don't want to make the mistake. They may have call it my grandpa's AI still in the back of their head. So how does that journey kind of begin when they're looking to evaluate AI?
Right. So there are 2 or 3 things I would say. One is around the use cases, which is what within the contact center we feel quality assurance and deep conversation intelligence. And we in our space, we used to call it speech analytics before, right? I would say it is now conversation intelligence. Because it's omni-channel, there's much more which is possible. So having a good foundation of an auto QA system, of a world-class QA system, and a good foundation of conversation intelligence are the right first 2 steps in our view, because then you can actually identify, where do I need to focus on? Do I need to train my agents better? Do I need to make real-time interventions? Do I actually need to improve our product and service to improve the end customer experience? Because all customers you and I talk to, the eventual goal is to make more money and improve CX, And on both of those things, if you have so for one of our customers, large financial services company, we just were doing an executive business review with them. We were able to identify 11% of conversations. They do 1 million calls a month. 11% of them can be taken away by improving the underlying product and service. 11%. So no agent improvement, no CX improvement, just fix some of your flows. You can do that by better conversation intelligence. We are able to identify, hey, here are the 5 or 7 things which are driving this engagement. Another 13%, which we thought could be automated. We don't have a bot product, but it was quite obvious that this 13% can be automated. So that's 13 plus 11, 24%, 240,000 conversations a month taken away. That's first part of the journey. The second part of the journey, okay, for these use cases, which vendor or which technology partner do I work with? And that is where Inflow comes in. That's where Level AI comes in. I would have a very simple test. It's an incredible time to be a buyer in today's market because there's so many options and you can research these things. But 1 or 2 very simple things. 1, can I configure the AI? Number 2, how much time does it take to configure it? If the tool takes months and regular maintenance, it's not really AI. Because if you have to, for example, in our space, there's this huge problem of setting up conversation, speech analytics. You have to give it a bunch of keywords and phrases and libraries of it. That's not really AI. You're just looking up stuff, right? So it should be quick setup out of the box. It should give you 70 to 80% of the results. No regular maintenance required. And the last thing I said, which was mentioned before, is it configurable? Can it take my data, become better, and can I configure the output as well? If the tool passes those 3 or 4 tests, you're probably making a good choice.
Yeah, and I kind of think about it a little bit further than that as well. It's kind of, where are you in your journey? You have to look internally to your company and say, what's my ability to handle change management? Okay, where's going to be the biggest impact to change management? What's going to be the biggest challenge to change management? And sometimes that's the agent and the customer, right? You're like, ooh, I don't want to change the agent too much, and I don't want to impact the customer experience too much. I'm nervous about implementing that. So when you're talking about like the tools that you were talking about, when you look at analytics, conversation analytics, a lot of that, it doesn't necessarily, when you deploy that, it won't impact those 2 people. You're learning, and then you're going to take those learnings to potentially impact. Similarly, on areas on self-service, so leveraging AI within self-service, you could put in a self-service IVR that sounds good and handles a specific use case, and the customer has not a significant impact, neither does the agent. So when if the call gets contained within that IVR. The agent just never got the call. So you didn't have to retrain the agent and put them on a new tool. And if it does pass, the tools will give context. That's where AI really comes in. It'll give context around what has already been handled within the self-service AI tool, and what the customer can give that seamless experience without really significantly changing the tools. So I kind of look at it. What's the impact to the agent? What's the impact to the customer? What's your change management internally? What's your ability to handle change internally? And the last thing I talk about with customers around their journey is, you don't swallow it in one bite.
Yes.
Right. You really need to set a plan. And even though there's probably pressure from above to say, we need to, this chat GPT and generative AI is so hot, why aren't we doing stuff with that? You have to be able to say, we have a plan, and you have to map out a plan. That plan could be a 6-month plan, 2-year plan, depending on where you are, that you start to get incremental improvements, and you don't have to do it all at one time. That's kind of how we think about things.
Well, that's a really good approach for sure. And I totally agree with you. Like, there are 3 or 4 very different personas in the contact center, the agent being the center of it for sure. And like working backwards from that is a really good mental model for sure. Yeah.
So really quick, I know we only have a couple minutes, but we do have a chat question that says, what if you work in for Michelle's, what if you work in a contact center where you use the customer tools versus our own single tool, like i.e. A custom dedicated environment. So maybe you're in a BPO environment and you're using maybe other tools, is maybe what I'm hearing here. Would that make leveraging like a solution more complex? Think about your conversational intelligence tool. I mean, my view is it's actually those tools could take multiple data sources, right? Your tool could take multiple data sources. So you can still have that tool that provides insights, then you provide value back to your customer, Michelle, to say, hey, our tool is telling us this is what's going on in your environment. You might want to make these changes, but Ashish, I'll let you kind of.
No, I think that's absolutely bang on. I'm not much to, so you're exactly right. And we can integrate into these tools through an API. So for example, we could just be a listener. Let's take conversation analytics as a use case. We could just be a listener and push the insights back into the other tool as a data stream, essentially, right? Or have separate UIs around that as well. But definitely that's possible. It does add a layer of complexity, but it's definitely possible for sure. Yeah,
for sure. Well, listen, I know we're kind of at time, and I hope everybody on the call that this was useful. We would love to continue the conversation and help with the journey. You can reach out to us at any time, just understand where you are and where we can help. But the summary here is AI is real. It's all about now. It's not your grandpa's AI. And it's just figuring out which tools are the best for you, which partners are the best for you, how you should implement it, and looking under the hood a little bit, because not all is created equal that you see out there in the marketplace. But we appreciate everybody's time today, and hopefully we can have some further conversations around your business needs.
Thank you. No, thanks for having us, Adam, and look forward to sort of follow-up conversations from here if there are any questions.
Take it easy.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.